Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Noah Washington with BlerdBinder. Today with us, we have Rae Shaw, Taylor Polidore, PJ Hubbard, Peter Boon Ko, and Miss Desiree. We are so excited to have you guys here. This is the cast and crew behind Black Kung Fu Chick. Before we begin, let's show the trailer for those who haven't seen it yet.
With my chemistry and math teacher, Mr. Jian. Hey, Mr. Jian, are you okay? Things never go down like they should. You know, the easy way.
Ooh, watch out now.
You never asked what happened.
What happened? When you come by tomorrow, I'll show you how to protect yourself.
But I want things to change. I couldn't get here on time. But somehow, I always end up back here in this same place.
Woo!
Yay!
Yay! Ms. Shaw, the first question is for you. Tell us a little bit about the series for those who haven't seen it yet and your inspiration behind it.
Yeah, so Black Kung Fu Chick is basically about a Black girl from South LA who really wants to become a doctor, but she gets into a lot of trouble. And she ends up meeting her teacher one day outside of summer school, and he sees that she has a bruise on her face, and he says, you know, let me teach you how to protect yourself. And she thinks that he's going to teach her how to fight better, but he actually ends up teaching her how to improve her chi, her energy, which will help her to become a better doctor and healer.
Wow. So you have assembled just an amazing cast. Tell me, what was the casting process like for each of these characters?
The casting process was long. I don't think that Taylor or Peter really have an idea. PJ does, because PJ came on with us, I think, in 2016, but I'm sure we saw at least 100 different Tashas. So, you know, it was a really long process finding the right Tasha and the right Mr. Jian, and that they had the great chemistry together to make it work. It was a really challenging process. Yeah.
Ms. Desiree, you were also a part of the casting process. What was that like?
It was very exciting. I came in later on the project. I met Rae Shaw. I met Rae at a women's film group about 3-4 years ago, and we connected that way. And so when I came in on the project as a producer, I helped with the casting, and it was very important that we got the right Taylor, the right Tasha, that's her character's name, and that she was, you know, was flexible, was open to doing kung fu and martial arts. She had to be flexible and in that regard. And then we also knew that we needed to have her connect really well with Peter. And the process was we had a lot of people coming in, and then after, you know, before we did the final choosing, we put the Tashas with the Peters, and we did some various pairings, and we came up with Taylor and Peter. I mean, it was like, you know, we couldn't have done any better with this pairing. Their connection is really, really great.
Ooh, and please, guys, you don't have to wait for a question to answer. You're all free to comment. But the next question is really driven at you guys, the actors. What was the auditioning process like?
Taylor, you go.
PJ, do you want to start?
Well, I think it was really humbling to learn that the casting had taken years. Even before we
they were waiting for you,
screen, right? And I will say that for myself, I think I had a little taste of what it must have been like, because when by the time we got back to the callback stage, even at that point, there were many people. And so, you're waiting outside the room and you're kind of like, yeah, okay, well, not many other Chinese guys around. I guess he's my competition and he's my competition and he's my competition. It's like,
I had a bit of a different experience than Peter because I got the audition like any other audition, and I really liked the aspect of the kung fu. I had never done it before, but I was like, yeah, that sounds like something I'd like to learn and do. And literally the day of the audition, my car broke down while I was getting, like, I had so much going on that day, and I didn't see any other girl. I didn't see anybody. I was like so flustered, and I was like, this is going to be horrible. And then like a couple days later, my manager was like, you got a call back. I said, really? Really? Okay. And then I went in the next day, and it was like, I was much more focused and like present in there. But I just remember being like, I did horrible because my car stopped and this and that. I was actually late. But I think something had happened the way that people were reading. Like I got there right in time. So it was very one of the like synchronicity, like made everything happen.
I think the thing that we will always remember is how cold the room was.
Freezing cold room.
Freezing with a capital F. And just us, right? Just going into the room, it was like immediate Siberia. And we were like trying to get the lines up. and
Southern
Rae
California,
yes, was sitting in there like, yeah, okay, can you try this now? And they were completely fine. I was like, I'll take my hat off to you.
And throughout the process, I was like, Rae really likes me. Throughout this entire process, years, she kept me. I felt so special. She made us all feel special.
Well, you killed it. So what made you guys connect with these characters? Where's the angle you came in on?
I think for me, it was the whole point of protection, not in terms of the physical, the kung fu, but just a protection in the sense of caring, and the extending of the helping hand when one needs it. I think that was what was special about the script. And it wasn't just a kind of like all out, let's do some kung fu, And so I thought that stood out for me.
I kind of came from the angle of understanding her need or her desire to get to where she wants to go, but she just doesn't quite know how to get there, and things keep coming in her way. And I think that's what I connected to most. She has a goal. She's trying to get there. There's so many things stopping her. And then you have this one person who's like, let me help you get yourself together. So she was open and willing as well. Like, even though she tries to defend herself and, seem so strong and all these things, she still is an open and vulnerable young woman who's just growing up and trying to reach her goal.
What drew me to the project was obviously the diversity and the subject matter. It was set and filmed in South LA and in Compton, and we all have ideas. We've all seen the terrible movies about, oh my God, South LA, Compton, oh, it's so, and yes, there is that element, but there's also this huge element of people do have goals. People do want their kids to go to college. People do want their children to be doctors and lawyers and business people and professionals. And it's not that they do want it, it actually happens, and people don't see it enough. So it's important for people to see this side of it, that they're just regular people trying to do goals, and as well as bringing the diversity together. Tasha's best friend is Mexican American, and then of course we have the Chinese American angle, which is also very important because South LA has changed from a mostly Black African American area to now it is more Latino. But you also have these other communities right there, the Asian American communities, Japanese, and so forth. So it's so this is a slice of life that I don't think has really been seen in the mainstream. I mean, you can always go and search for it, but it's not just out there, and that's what it was what drew me to this project. So I thank Rae for bringing this to life and writing it.
Yeah.
We got a great question from our audience here. What is the difference between diversity and inclusion in film?
I think diversity is the obvious. You want to have different races, but you have to realize that by saying diversity, what I'm saying is that it's there. It's not something forced. It's just that in entertainment, you don't see it. You have shows about New York, but there's only white people in some shows, and it's like, that's just not real. So diversity is realizing that this world is full of different people. Inclusion, I think, means, again, kind of the same thing, but being aware of the world around you. And I'm talking too much, so let somebody else jump in.
I could say that because I feel like sometimes we use those two words interchangeably, but I would say that diversity is, having the diverse different groups and different ethnicities. But I think inclusion could take it a step further and actually immerse the different cultures or the different people in something. It's one thing if you have a show and you're being diverse for the sake of diversity, meaning, oh, I have a Black person here and a Chinese person there. Whereas inclusion is that this Black or Chinese or Latino person has a storyline and has a purpose. It's not just, yeah, we have all types of people. They actually are included and integrated into what the story is.
Yeah, and I feel like being diverse would be including everybody, including the Latinos, Latinas, the African American people, including everybody in one whole group. But inclusion would be, like Chandler said, more of having everybody having their own story, having everybody have their own character.
Very profound. Next question is, were there any conflicts? Like, what were the challenges on taking these roles?
I know my biggest challenge, but it was also the thing that drove me the most to it was actually learning the fight choreography and trying to get that. I had never done anything like that before, but I've always wanted to. And I'm just the type of person where I'm like, yeah, I can do it. I have no idea like what it entails, doing it. So I think that was one of the biggest challenges, but it was very rewarding to experience it too.
And also we required our Tashas to send in audition tapes, and Taylor's tape, oh my God, it was great.
Thank you.
Also, I think what I'd like to add to that is that what was nice about Rae's script was that, through little lines, through little moments, you get to learn a little bit more. Is it a sensei or is it a shifu? Right, for example. It's I think through inclusion, we're able to learn a little bit more about each other.
My next question is for, of course, the production side and as well as the actors. What was it like learning this choreography? Was it difficult from a practical standpoint?
Absolutely. Like, I've never been in a fight a day in my life. So I didn't even have like, I mean, I think there's just some things that I naturally know. I do know how to dance. And so I kind of used that knowledge to get it. But it's physically demanding on your body. And then we didn't mention it yet, but we shot this on film. So the the physical demands of it, and then also like we need to get this now. You know, it was a challenge. It really was, but everybody was so awesome in it. The fight choreographer Alfred was just amazing. Yeah. All the guys who were doing the stunts were amazing. They were very helpful to me. They're like, "Oh, this will help you do like the," you know. Everybody was just very, very great. Very great. They made the challenge easy.
I'll just I'll just jump in to add that you know, there wasn't a lot of time, so like a lot of independent productions, we were strapped for funding, and we didn't have as much time as we really wanted to give Taylor and Alfred to really work together. So Taylor really, you know, learned how to do that fight sequence in like a couple days. You know, there was like,
yeah. What does that look like? What was the rehearsal to film date timeline?
Yeah, I think we did rehearsals maybe like the week before, something like that, and we ended up having kind of like a stunt rehearsal that we had to walk through a lot of the action. But again, you know, we just really didn't have a lot of time, and I was really impressed. I mean, Taylor, you know, when you see those swings happening, I mean, those are really happening. And so she had to be really committed and really trust, you know, the stuntman to really, you know, because if she was off or hesitating, like she, you know, it could have been rough. And, you know, I was just so impressed, yeah, with Taylor and her commitment to the project. She really gave her 100% and more. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember having to give her like a big hug after she learned all of those moves in like a week.
Well, congrats to you.
It was a challenge. Thank you.
Not a problem. The next question is for you, Miss Rae. What was it like what was the journey as both a writer and director to this project? And for the fight sequences, was that your vision or is it a collaborative effort?
Yeah, you know, the journey was a long one. So I really started writing the project in 2016, and I actually wrote it a number of different ways. I wrote it as a short first. We had some interest from some production companies, and they wanted to see it as a TV, a drama. So I wrote that, and you know, then that was too heavy. They wanted it to be more funny. So, you know, I really had to go back to my original vision. And so that ended up really turning into a web series. And, you know, I had always had the vision that I really wanted it to be for young girls of color, particularly in the South Los Angeles area. I wanted to be something that they could see reflect themselves. I didn't get to mention, but the story is, you know, it's inspired by my love of Kung Fu, but it's also inspired by some work that I did on a health study in South LA. I worked at Charles Drew on a project that was called the Females Project, and it was basically an STD prevention health study. And I just spent a lot of time in the South LA community, Watts, Willowbrook, Compton, and just really grew to love the communities there. And, you know, that really inspired me to write the story. And so, you know, the writing process, it evolved as I just kind of talked about. And then, you know, I also had a vision of shooting it on Super 8, which was, you know, really complicated and challenging. And that was one of the hardest things that we faced actually in production, was working with a Super 8 camera when those cameras are not typically sound sync. And then Taylor and Peter, you know, they both came to understand that, you know, it wasn't like shooting on a digital camera where it was really casual and, you know, oh yeah, we can do like 10 takes. I mean, it was like 1 or 2 takes and we're out. And, you know, we had to move on. You know, I don't even know if we had any takes that went beyond a take 3. You know, it was, you know, really a testament to our DP, Raven Stevenson, you know, all the work that she was able to do to accomplish that. Taylor, I'm sorry, Raven was experienced in working in film, but, you know, she had to learn the format of 8 also very quickly, and she did a great job with it.
I have a funny story too. When someone, a publicist that I knew, I was telling them about the film and that it was shot on Super 8. And when she saw the trailer, she's like, well, but no one had you know, digital camera or anything. And, you know, she was trying to make a joke, but I was like, no, I said it's Super 8 because Rae was inspired by the 70s and 80s martial arts films. And then I threw in there, I said, you know, Black women as creators and women of color, we have the right to have some dramatic license. So I get, you know, and so this project is defying a lot of things and doing a lot of things that we just don't see every day. And I think that's important to point out.
You know, why didn't you, Miss Rae, why didn't you just shoot it digitally and then filter it? What made you say this is what how we're gonna film it?
Because it's not the same thing and it's not the same experience. So I did actually investigate over the years, looking at some filters. I think the black camera, I'm not sure that's the Black Magic camera, I think was one that was suggested and that I looked at, but it's just not the same. And Super 8 has a really interesting texture to it that makes it feel like it's home movies, and you know that you feel like you're right with these people. You know, I think that digital cameras can have an effect of making things feel very slick and polished, and you know that's good too. But I really wanted to have this nostalgic feel for the film that really makes these people feel really warm and like they're your best friends, and these were people that you grew up with. And on production, using a Super 8 camera, it's so small and tiny, you know, that we can really do things that you can't do with a lot of digital cameras because it's so small and easy to use. So, you know, for all those reasons, we really remain committed to using that camera. That, you know, and the richness now that you're able to see, I mean, it's really distinct. You look at it and you're like, wait, what's going on? This is not this is not a regular digital camera. Something's different here, and I really wanted people to recognize that.
Did that make it more intense for y'all, knowing that you only had 1 or 2 takes to get it right?
Well, I felt like if we really knew each other, if we really knew and trusted that they had the line, we can get it done in 1 or 2 takes.
Same. I never felt the pressure. I knew that there was pressure on the outside. I knew that, but with my fellow actors, I never felt like, I don't know if we're going to be able to deliver what they're asking. I never felt that.
Yeah, and it was thanks to your vision, Rae. We got a product that was just so unlike what you see, you know, out there now. And you know, watching it for the first time after it was released for the festival, just wow! It was such a blast, you know, because the texture, the feel, the mood, you know, that whole ambiance was really, really wonderful. And so I have to say, despite all the challenges and probably sleepless nights, you know, congratulations, because you know, it it really gave us something that is going to stay with us for a long time.
Rae, before we got on, you were telling us how you're a professor at Emerson. What was that like, balancing those two, making this film and teaching?
Well, Emerson is really supportive of their faculty, so that was actually a great advantage. They supported the project in a number of ways. So one was that I was able to apply for a grant that's open to faculty, and so that grant ended up paying a significant portion of the project. But we were also able to use the facility, so that really, really cold facility that that Peter was mentioning earlier was actually Emerson Los Angeles's campus. So, you know, that also was tremendous. A great way that the school supported. And then lastly, Emerson really encourages faculty to bring students onto the production so that they can, you know, have that kind of experience, you know, and really help them to move into their own careers within film. So we did have a few Emerson students that were on production. One was a former student of mine, which is great. And then we also had another student who, again, a former student of mine who was the person that created a lot of the designs that you see. So in the trailer, like that final car, that was done by Danielle Marscalchi. She also designed the poster, and she also designed the really great animated title sequence that's in the film. And that's all great work.
Wow. Well, you guys have some fans in the comments right now. Just want to take a minute to say hello to all of them. So my next question is, were any of y'all Kung Fu fans?
Hi.
Were any of y'all Kung Fu fans before? Rae said she was. How about y'all?
I absolutely loved Kung Fu. I was always like trying to, here, all the time. But then I got karate lessons. That was short-lived. But
how short-lived?
It wasn't that short-lived. It was like a year or two.
Okay, that's a solid time.
Solid.
You seem to have a jump on everybody else, so.
Yeah. You know, I've watched Kung Fu movies, but I've never really I didn't understand it, how deep it actually goes and what it stands for. And after we shot, I actually took a Kung Fu class because I was like, I think I kind of like this. I want to explore this more.
How was that? Was that intense? We have actually, before you answer that, we have a question from our audience. What do you guys see the future of Black Kung Fu going?
Well, yeah, I'll definitely jump in. I know Desi will have some things to add. But, you know, I designed the show to, you know, have a full first season where we get to see Tasha. She's basically in the middle of summer between where she's finishing high school and trying to enroll in college. And so the first season covers that whole summer. And the webisodes are about 5 minutes, but they act together to create basically a sequence of episodes where there's always a fight scene. And so there's 10 sequences, and so we've just finished one of them. And so, you know, we're hoping that we'll have someone who wants to pick it up, fund it, help us develop it to finish the episodes, and you know, maybe we'll have also a season 2. Yeah.
Yeah. And we do, I think as we said earlier, there is a lot of interest. A lot of people are excited about the project. Something, of course, you know, it's unique. And so hopefully, you know, we want to take it all the way. You know, we want to take it all the way. And a quick story about Kung Fu. I was not really a Kung Fu fan, but I would not turn down the opportunity to to speak to Kung Fu people. I'm a journalist as well, entertainment journalist, and I interviewed Timok, who was in the first Motown movie, The Last Dragon. So I interviewed him, and this was like recently, like within the past 3 years, because he continues to go around the world and teach the principles of martial arts, and he's trying to do his own Kung Fu projects with people of color. And also, very interestingly, I interviewed Jim Kelly, the famous Jim Kelly. That was very exciting. As many of you know or may not know, he was one of the first Black actors who was in Kung Fu movies in the 70s. So that was exciting.
That's an experience. What was that like? Did you tell him about the project you were working on here at Black Kung Fu Fair?
No, well, this was a while back. This was way before Black Kung Fu Fair. Yes, this was like, I really can't remember why I was talking to him, but it was in the 90s. So it was in the 90s, and he lived out in Marina del Rey. And we talked for a couple of hours just about the experience of, working with so many of the Kung Fu greats. So that was good. That's something those are things that I'll always remember.
Do you guys have any particular favorite Kung Fu film?
I will actually jump in, because I was particularly inspired by a lot of King Hu movies. And so he has a lot of female protagonists in his films. Dragon In, Come Drink With Me, Touch of Zen. Those were all films that really motivated this story because they had female protagonists and fighters. I was really interested because a lot of the female martial artists, they're a little bit different from what you traditionally see, which is, guys who end up fighting and someone gets hurt and then it's vengeance and then, okay, now we got to go kill him. But a lot of the female martial artists were always interested in justice and family and community. And, I was just really, really, really inspired by that. But I also really liked, there's a set of movies called the Venom Mob films. And there's a lot of gore in those films, but they're really fun and they just have so much martial arts that you get to see really enacted in like a full screen without any stunts. I mean, those actors, they're doing it. And I also really love the acrobatics and the rhythm and the dance choreography of a lot of those films. That also was a huge inspiration.
Wow. Michael Brown here says, this is awesome. Reminds me of back in the day Kung Fu movies with Bruce Lee. Great experience. Thanks. Wow, what a compliment. How about you guys? Do you have any favorite Kung Fu movies that you guys use to kind of get prepared for the role?
I watched multiple movies. Like pieces of them because I really wanted to see the fight sequence. But honestly, I watched YouTube a lot more because I think, what was it mentioned? Wushu style Kung Fu was what style, a guy who helped me actually with my audition. He was like, watch some of these videos, and actually the fight sequence that you guys sent for us to do for our audition, I was like on a deep dive, like, okay, how do they feel? What is their face like? What is, what are they giving? Because they all look so confident and so cool. Like that was the coolest part to me, because I was like, okay, what they're doing is very difficult, but they're making it look so easy.
Yeah, you have to be a little bit more confident for you to not be taken down. You're trying to take somebody else down. You don't want them to see, oh, he's scared. Well, so you want to be confident. You want to be outstanding.
We have a question from one of our audience. Was everything shot in Compton?
Mm. Yeah, I can talk about that. That was actually really huge. We shot mostly in Compton, but we also shot some sequences in Watts and some in Willowbrook. And it was really important to me that I shoot in those communities that I knew so well. We were always for the health study, we were always hanging out at places where young women would go, and so shopping centers and health clinics and places like that. And so I really knew those areas. And we had, Desi will know this story. We started to shoot, I said that we were had started working on the project in 2016. Well, Compton and Watts and Willowbrook looked really different in 2016 than when we actually shot later in, I think it was, 2019? Is that right? Or I think something like that, the summer. And so they're being gentrified, and they were also being, they were taking down a lot of the train stations. So that fight sequence was originally supposed to be on Willowbrook's train station plaza. That was the vision. That was how it was designed. And then when I came back, they were shifting all of those things. And so they had closed down the Watts train platform. Willowbrook was literally demolished. The mall that the girls walk out of was also just gone. And so we had, I was kind of like in shock.
Shock is when Rae and I went to scout the location. She's like, "Okay, Desi, we're gonna go look at all these locations." And we went, and there were like literally the main one that she wanted. It was like shut down. There were like fences and locks. And she was like, "Oh my God, what?" And I was like, "We will find a way. We will find a way." But yes.
I was shocked. And so we had to think about, where else could we shoot this really great fight sequence, and I wanted it to be a place that looked great, but also symbolically meant a lot. And so, I said, well, it has to be the Compton Plaza. There's that great Martin Luther King monument that's there, and it's so symbolic of Tasha's story of, thinking about her dreams, and and it's also in between the library and the city center. I mean, it just was the place, but it was so expensive to shoot there. And, Desi worked really hard to negotiate. The Compton City film folks were actually really great, but somehow the officers and I think the sheriff got involved, and they were convinced that, they needed to have something like 5 or 6 cop cars, and that we had to pay for them. I mean, it was crazy. And, the Compton Film Office, they really worked with us, but it was really, Michelle Chambers, the councilwoman, who really made it possible. One of the other producers, Belinda Salazar Kizzy, she had a contact to Michelle, and Michelle met with us, and one of the other producers, Sandra Verona, and, said that she wanted to help and she wanted to support the project. And we were literally in the 11th hour, with trying to figure out if we were going to have to cut the fight scene in a film called Black Kung Fu to decide, what we were going to do about it. And the councilwoman, I mean, she really came through, and, it meant so much. I mean, it was thousands and thousands of dollars when we started out. And they, she really made it possible. And it was just such a collaborative effort for everyone, to make it possible.
And one of the points that we wanted to show the city of Compton and the police, because if the police had anything to do with it, I specifically spoke to the police directly, they didn't want to do it. And But we had to impress upon them, this is a project that you do want to do because it shows Compton in a good light. And this is a project that you would want to support. So we are very thankful for the council woman to get involved, so that
Ms. Desi, do you mind repeating what you just said? You went out a little bit on us.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I was saying we shouldn't be lost on the point that the police, and I specifically dealt with the police and trying to get the permits. If it were up to them, they didn't want to do it at all. They were, concerned about, the activity that you hear about and about the lights and about control. And I'm like, look, this is not that kind of a party. This is not some gang infested movie. This is a family movie, and this is something that you would want to have shot in your city. And then, as Rae said, we had to use the councilwoman to get involved to make it happen, and we're really thankful for that.
That's such a great story of overcoming. What made you guys choose Compton compared to other historically Black places, such as maybe Atlanta, maybe Memphis? What was the decision behind that to say, this is Compton, we're going to Compton?
I mean, the work that I did was in South LA for the Females Project. So, that was the community that I really fell in love with. And, there's so much vibrant art in the community that, Watts has this, the Watts Towers. And then there are all these mosaics that are just quite lovely, and you don't see them really anywhere else. And it's kind of like a big secret if you're coming from outside of LA, that these wonderful treasures exist in South LA, and just what a magical community it really is. So a lot of people don't get to see that because the media doesn't portray, those sides of the South LA community, but they're quite lovely. And, I really enjoyed the work that I did there. And I just wanted to really share that story.
One of the more important scenes that Peter and Taylor and Rae should talk about is the community garden scene. We scouted community gardens around, and people have gardens in South LA, Compton. So you guys should definitely speak about that, because I know Rae and I, that was point of contention at some point about the type of garden, the community garden. But that's very important to talk about that scene.
Yeah,
I think it was the idea of the shared space, for everyone, right? And being able to grow and to nurture future life, right? I think that was very educational for me. I also enjoyed shooting on location, and I think Desiree and Rae will recall that on location one day, there was a touch of excitement because, there was a chopper, there were police cars. Do you remember when we were shooting in the house? So we were all told, kind of like stay indoors, so it was exciting.
What? There was what?
Yeah.
There were choppers. What was happening?
I think somebody, because at the time there's this thing where gamers, they'd be all mad at other gamers and they'd call the cops on them for something that they didn't even do. And then everybody was going to that house to arrest them.
I forget where that was. That was when we were shooting the last day.
We were in Carson.
I was gonna say, yeah. It's like that.
Yeah.
That was Carson.
But it's all about the shooting on location, right? Which lends it an authenticity and realness that you don't get shooting on a soundstage, for example, where everything is controlled.
Wow.
Yeah, that was some event that had nothing to do with the film, that just happened to be unraveling nearby, but we continued to shoot.
So Rae, why was the community garden scene so important to you to have, and making sure that we had the right community garden?
The community garden was really important to the story because of this idea of healing. And again, it was one of those things. Desi's right. We went through probably 10 community gardens, trying to find the right one. And you know, I don't know. I just remember people would ask me, well, will this one work? And I'm, no, this will not work for this reason, that reason. You know, it needs to be, you know, we need to be able to allow them to plant the tree. You know, in the end, it ended up being the Heart of Watts Garden, which was across from a school. I have to say again that the South LA community was just so loving to us and supportive. You know, the garden, you know, was really great, and just making the space available and really just offering everything that we needed. But we also had a really great crew. Rico Moreno was one of the producers, and he had a production coordinator, Benjamin Frosto, who also was really helpful in helping us to secure a school across the street where we could actually use their facilities for lunch and for bathrooms and things like that. But, you know, everywhere that we went in South LA, people just really opened up their doors to us to really make it possible for us to shoot the film.
Wow. So we have a question from Karen Parks. She's asking, will you engage more actors for the next film?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot more story to tell with, you know, 9 more sequence episodes to fulfill. So absolutely, we'll definitely be looking for more cast, sure.
Is there anybody? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, and in the episodes that we already shot, you will see Tasha's best friend, and some other people. Her brother is also portrayed in the film, and you'll also see her parents.
Wow.
And we also talk about Peter's wife.
Is there any actor out there that you would just love to have?
You know, I think this is a vehicle. This is a vehicle for, I mean, everyone wants, you know, whatever, but I think this is a vehicle for actors who have been working, but you may not know, you know, people aren't going to know their names. All the actors, you have definitely seen them in a variety of different things, but this is a vehicle to bring out the more BIPOC actors, you know. So.
How about for the rest of you? Any person that you are just dying to work with that would fit into the world?
I'll say that some of the people that contributed, Sarah Lynn Crittenden is someone that I worked with really early on in my career, and she shared the project with Scott Caldwell, who supported the project as well. I'd love to bring Miss Caldwell onto the project in a prominent role. Yeah.
Well, we just got a stream of new listeners, so we're going to play the trailer one more time for those listeners who have just joined us. This is Black Kung Fu Chick.
Started with my chemistry and math teacher, Mr. Jian. Hey, Mr. Jian, are you okay? Things never go down like they should. You know, the easy way.
Ooh, watch out now.
You never asked what happened.
What happened? When you come by tomorrow, I'll show you how to protect yourself.
And I want things to change. I couldn't get here on time. But somehow, I always end up back here in this same place.
When that sound cue at the end comes in,
it's epic.
It is epic. Let me ask you, who did the soundtrack for the film?
Yeah, so that was Josh Lim did the score, and then Michaela Green also did the music supervision. So she came up with a lot of the soundtrack, which was fantastic. Kate did a really great job.
Wow. It's just an amazing soundtrack. I love it. So early on in the process, when you were writing this, did you always envision a Black female lead? What was the development process of your main characters?
Well, I'll definitely say that I have a niece. Like, I really love writing young Black women. And I just really love telling their stories. I mean, I think that Black women have, often not been portrayed in positive ways within the media, and it's really been a mission of mine to really change that. I wanted to tell a story about a dimensional character and her struggles and vulnerabilities and strengths, and really just put that on the screen to be a great heroine. I mean, I was talking with a friend just the other day, and talking about, wait, how many Black heroines are there, or did I grow up? But wait, how much has it actually changed? And not feeling like there's that many. Yeah, I mean, I still feel like I'm reaching for, wait, who are the Black female heroes, the young ones? Who are they exactly? And so, that's what I want Tasha to be. I really want her to stand up and represent young women of color everywhere. And it's, the series is also transmedia. So it's not just about the web series. There's a game component, there's a blog, and, there are all these other aspects to the story that, she'll be able to encourage other young women to pursue their dreams in the same way.
So, we live in changing and challenging times. Do you believe this story is more important now than ever?
I absolutely do. I think we're definitely in changing times, and I think that although we have ways that we need to improve upon, I think that we're seeing more than ever stories like this, stories that people are willing to give a chance to, and also the platforms in which we're watching stories. People watch YouTube, people are watching and getting content from so many different places. Now is the time to make whatever your dreams can come up with. If it's a Black girl in Watts who does Kung Fu, now is the time to do it. I think we're in a very dynamic time where things are changing, and, we actually have the space to see a young Black girl doing Kung Fu. And it's cool. And some other little Black girl who does Kung Fu or does karate is going to be like, that's like me. That's the times that we're in.
Yeah, I feel like anybody can be inspired by this story because it's spotlighting many BIPOC people, and so many cultures are coming together, and we're seeing this wonderful, beautiful, diverse project, and you get to be inspired by this.
And make sure you have a fabulous team working with you, because you need that team to make it work.
Ms. Desi?
Again, this is just, some people may look at this film and say, well, all these different people in here, people don't live like that. And I'm here to tell you that that is not true. This story is the United States. It really is. And it's important for us to realize that we're not just Black and white, that there are other cultures, other ethnicities that come together in this world. And we need to come together and work together.
What was the challenge in filming during COVID-19?
So we actually didn't film in COVID. We actually shot before COVID happened. So that was a relief because, yeah, I can't even imagine.
When did you guys stop filming? When did production officially end?
Production.
We shot it in summer 2019.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ooh, that's not a huge time leap at all in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, and then we finished post. Yeah, basically the last 6 months or whatever. Yeah, it took a long time to complete post, so that there were some challenges there as well that we met.
How long did it take to approximately to finish the film?
Gosh, I guess it took a year and a couple of and change. Yeah. It took a year and change. Yeah.
What was the editing process like? Did you have to, after you had filmed, you know, when you were editing the editing bay, did you have to change some things? Some things just maybe didn't work?
We had such a fantastic post team. I just really love them. I already mentioned Josh and Kay. But Marcellus was our sound designer, and Mung Fang Yang is our editor, and she was tremendous. I mean, you know, she also cut the trailer that you see, and she was just fantastic. You know, we basically opened up a post, and she was one of the people that applied to the ad, and she just had such great work. She'd already done some work in web series. And I don't know, you know, I think we were really blessed to find her. I think she did such a tremendous job.
Did you guys have a favorite moment from the series? Without spoilers, let me say that.
My favorite moment is the end. I won't spoil.
Thank you very much for all of our viewers.
The ending scene.
I love seeing the ending because Tyler did an outstanding job, and I just love seeing it flow and go together along with the film that it's in. It makes you feel like you're actually there. You're actually living it.
I love the quick moment when Tasha asks him, you know, what about all that, you know, arm stuff, chop chop, and then I say, Hollywood.
I would say my favorites are the garden scenes. I just love the relationship that these two are developing and helping each other.
I don't have a favorite scene. I love all of it. I just think it's I just think everything is just really well done. So
I get it. It's like trying to pick your favorite child. You just can't really do it.
Right.
Were there any unexpected moments?
Unexpected what?
Moments that you ended up loving. In front of the camera and behind the camera.
I loved when Tasha and we were just enjoying the scene, and she started ad-libbing, and that really helped it flow because it really helps our energies collide, and it makes everything flow even better.
Peter, how about you? Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Rae.
I was just gonna say, shooting on the Compton Plaza was just amazing to me, and I don't know, the community was just so great. That really moved me that we were able to get that done.
And I think Rae talked about us being able to take shelter in the school across the road from the community garden, where I learned that was a school where Flojo had gone to, you know. So it's just all these little moments and histories that you might otherwise miss and not learn about, you know, if you don't pay a little bit more attention.
I also just want to mention one of the other producers, Sasha Brown Rice, who on the first day of the shoot picked me up and drove me to the shoot, and just really wanted me to feel like the big time director on that day.
Wow. So let me ask you, where can viewers find Black Kung Fu Chick?
So right now we're still playing at Slam Dance, and so Slam Dance goes until the 25th. So you can buy a pass for $10 if you're a student or have .edu in your email. It's $5, and so you can find us there. We are still on our festival run, so we're not sure what that's going to look like in this virtual world, but we hope that you'll be able to see us on some other festival sites. And then we'll do a YouTube release. Right now we haven't set the exact dates, but we're looking towards the summer. And after that, we'll eventually do a college tour where we'll take the project around and, really get to share it with young women in different communities around the nation and, potentially the world, and talk about the other transmedia components, the blog, the game, the comic, and, these ideas of decision making that Tasha really struggles with as a young woman.
Wow. Well, thank you guys so much for being with us here today. We're going to go out by showing the trailer one more time to our viewers who joined us late in the game. Once again, this is Black Kung Fu Chick.
With my chemistry and math teacher, Mr. Jian. Hey, Mr. Jian, are you okay? Things never go down like they should. The easy way.
Ooh, watch out now.
You never asked what happened.
What happened? When you come by tomorrow, I'll show you how to protect yourself.
But I want things to change. I couldn't get here on time. But somehow, I always end up back here in the same place.